Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this special council meeting of the Alpine Shire on the 8th of October 2024. Item number 1, recording and live streaming of council meetings. Please, Mr. Jeremy, would you like to read the following?
All council meetings are filmed with both video and audio being recorded. This meeting is being held online and audio and video is focused on councillors and council officers. In accordance with Alpine Shire governance rules adopted on the 27th of July 2024, question time, notices of motion, general business and reports by delegates will not be presented during the election period. The reasoning behind recording council meetings is to hold us more accountable and to improve transparency of council's decision making to our community. The full meeting is being streamed live on council's YouTube channel, which is Alpine Shire Council, and will also be available on the YouTube channel shortly after this meeting.
Thank you. Item 2, acknowledgement of traditional custodians. Alpine Shire acknowledges the traditional custodians on the lands on which we are meeting today. Council also acknowledges all of the traditional custodians of the wider lands of the area known as the Alpine Shire. Council also acknowledges those people who have contributed to the rich fabric of our community and strive to make wise decisions that will improve the quality of life for all. Item 3, confirmation of minutes of our ordinary meeting held on the 24th of September. The recommendation is that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting as circulated be confirmed. Could I have a mover and seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Councillor Kelly. Any commentary? No. Thank you. Those in favour? Thank you. That's carried. Item 4, apologies. We have apologies from Councillors Keeble and Nicholas tonight. Obituaries and congratulations. Question time. Obituaries and congratulations. We're not going to do this during our special council meeting. Any declarations by councillors of conflicts of interest? No. Also, during election period, public questions are disbanded. We're not doing that. So it moves on to item 8, 8.1, the Director of Corporate and Community, Natalie Cook, approval in principle of the financial statements and performance statement. Thank you, Ms. Cook.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report, the purpose of this report is to present the financial statements and performance statement and draft for the year ending 30 June 2024 for review and to seek in principle agreement. The report provides an overview of the results in Council's financial and performance statement, which are provided in full in the attachments to the document. Once approval in principle has been provided and Council has incorporated any changes which are recommended or agreed by our auditor, the financial statement and performance statement must be certified by 2 councillors authorised by Council prior to the auditors signing their report. The process also involves our Audit and Risk Committee. So the Audit and Risk Committee charter states that the committee is required to review the annual financial report and consider whether it is complete, consistent with information known to the Audit and Risk Committee members and reflects appropriate accounting principles. The draft financial statement and performance statement for the year ending 30 June 2024 show that Council is financially sustainable and that Council services are being delivered within expected parameters. Council ended the 23-24 year with an operating surplus, which is greater than predicted in the 23-24 annual budget. The operating surplus higher result is largely attributed to non-monetary contributions and higher investment income. However, it should also be noted that at this morning's Audit and Risk Committee meeting, proposed amendments to the financial report were identified and discussed by the external auditor. One of the amendments is considered material and when processed will positively impact the operating surplus. Now, this material impact is a change in earned revenue, which has been identified, and it will increase our operating surplus for the financial year in our final reports. In addition, the total comprehensive result included an asset revaluation increment, which accounted for both a true revaluation of assets across a number of our asset classes, as well as a prior year error related to previously unaccounted for council assets, which have now been accounted and processed through our equity statements, which have had an impact on the final report. Those statements and that equity is now in the process of being recorded properly in the statements as prior year error.
Thank you, Ms. Cook, for that introduction to this. So we have a recommendation in front of us. One is to approve in principle the financial statements and performance statement for the year ended. And the second point of that is that we need to authorise two councillors to certify these prior to them going to the external auditor. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Janus and Councillor Kelly. Councillor Janus.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Cook, for the briefing on that. I'd firstly like to thank the staff, particularly Mr. Cooper and his team, who have gone through an enormous amount of work to get this to us tonight, and also to the Audit and Risk Committee, who had some good questions clarified today and made them feel more comfortable. One question: how much, monetary-wise, can you put a figure on how much the change in the surplus is?
Yeah, it's going to be approximately 2.134 million.
Okay, thank you. And the recording of there's a change to recording of the lands under roads, which has changed from what we previously have done. Can we have a bit more explanation there for the public, because our accounting previously was different to what it is now?
So there's a few things that are contributed to the prior year asset revaluation change that we're booking into 2023. One of those is a change in the way that we account for land under road. So as part of our asset process, council accounts for all of the assets that we have, and they may be big assets, but they also go down to very small and detailed assets as well. One of the asset classes is land under road. So we need to account for the value of the land that sits under our roads, and that forms part of our asset base. Now, the land under roads in previous years has just included that section of land which is under the bitumen, under the on the road, and this year we are also accounting for the component of the land that goes all the way up to the road boundary. So that clearly has increased the asset base, the financial asset base for that land under roads calculation. In that true revaluation of assets, there's been a couple of other small changes that have impacted. It's not just land under roads. There was also some changes to some small parcels of land that have now been accounted for, and some smaller assets which are now being accounted for in that class, which includes things like sunshades and bus shelters. But overall, when you put them together, it looks like a large asset revaluation.
Thank you.
Councillor Kelly.
Thanks, Mayor, and reiterate Councillor Janus's thank you to the team. I think changing auditor and having fresh eyes always brings new rigour, and appreciate that's brought a lot of work. Just a question on the expenses, Ms. Cook. We have a real yo-yo in expenditure on our landfill rehabilitation. So I think in prior year we were just short of $3 million in expenditure on landfill rehab, and then this year, just this financial year closing, it was more like 160K. I understand why that will oscillate quite a lot. You know, the regulations keep changing. We monitor the landfills, and then from differing years, you know, we undertake more work to secure those old landfills. Am I right in thinking that we do have a reserve in place? So every year there is a certain amount of money, effectively put aside for landfill rehab, and although the actual expense may yo-yo up and down, we're sufficiently covering that through an annual allocation.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly. Yes, there is a landfill rehabilitation reserve in place in our accounts, and generally landfill rehabilitation or landfill management is planned for over a number of years. And as you point out, the expenditure can be quite choppy year to year. However, it is smoothed out over a number of years so that we can actually maintain those assets over a lifetime, because the tail on managing them is over a long lifetime.
Yeah, it's a significant swing from one year to another there. So tonight we're noting these draft reports for submission to VAGO, subject to any material item. We know there's one material item. When these draft documents do go with that amendment, if VAGO then find another material item, what's the next step from here?
So the process is that we undertake our internal financial statements, and then we have an external auditor who works with us through the audit process. So the external auditor has been working with us over the last several weeks and is managing and monitoring our annual financial statements at the moment. The document as it is put forward for councillors for approval in principle, and there is an allowance for should there be any further changes identified by the auditor. However, we are quite advanced in that process at the moment. So one change has been identified and noted tonight. The process from here is that once the annual financial statements approved in council by principle, they are sent to VAGO with any changes that our auditor. We work through concurrent to that any changes with our auditors, and once VAGO reviews those changes, they issue us with approval to sign the documents and also a certificate of approval for those documents, and they form part of our annual report at the end of October. So there are a series of steps from here to have that finalised.
Okay, and our time frame's getting pretty narrow now. From a, I guess when I reflect on previous years, is there a potential that VAGO will hold out? I'll have further questions of our auditor and perhaps further questions of our team, and so this item carries into the next period, beyond October.
So I assume there's always the potential. However, we do have a legislative timeframe for adopting our annual report, which we are planning on putting to 22nd of October council meeting. And most of the work that's done on the financials is done with the auditors, and that's the work that we're doing now. There's generally any issues that are going to be picked up would be picked up through that process prior for submission to VAGO.
Okay.
There is still a process once the document goes to VAGO, though, to ensure that VAGO is comfortable with the document, but most of the issues should be picked up through this process.
Right. And look, Ms. Cook, last question from me. Total expenses were slightly down when we look at the sort of performance report data, and I'll try and find a page number there for you. My question is, total expenses overall were down, but on a per capita basis, they were marginally up. So I can only assume that whatever municipal population data is issued to us suggests our population kind of slightly declined in FY24 compared to FY23. Would that be a reasonable assumption?
No, I'm not sure, Councillor Kelly. I'd have to take that on notice and check the underlying assumption on that data.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Ms. Cook, just a question, and you may have to take it on notice. That is, because they've changed the way in valuing land under roads, going right to the fence line now to private property line. On that road verge, there's a lot of trees usually. were those trees accounted for in our assets prior to us recognising the actual land? And and then the second part of that question, the trees that are along Vic Roads roads, are they our assets or Vic Roads assets? Because you now value the land under roads right to the edge of the private land.
So the land under roads is being valued to the edge of the boundary. I'd have to check whether the accounting standards accounts for trees as well. My assumption is it accounts for land value and it doesn't specifically account for trees. It would be an accounting standard that would dictate how we would actually account for that. And that is my assumption, but I would have to just double check whether that accounting standard accounts for trees.
Thank you. It creates an interesting question, I think, with trees as assets. Whose they are, and yes. All right, thank you. Sorry, now Councillor Prime or Councillor Hughes, any further questions of Ms Cook? No, thank you. Back to you, Councillor Janus. Anything final?
The only final thing is I'm pretty confident that the new external auditor has done an awful amount of work with our team to ensure that the document that finally goes to VAGO is as close to the truth as they can get. Notwithstanding, between now and then, there may be some minor changes that on the final check that may be picked up, but I don't believe that there's anything major there that will affect the process going forward, and pardon me, and that we have our accounts in order at the appropriate time.
Thank you. Okay, so we've got two recommendations in front of us here, which have been moved by Councillor Janus and seconded by Councillor Kelly. One is that we're approving in principle these financial statements in the performance statement in order for it to go to our external auditor to have a letter attached to that and go to VAGO. And then we are authorising Councillors Janus and Councillor Kelly to certify these. And both councillors happy using electronic signatures?
Yeah, that's fine.
That's
Yes.
fine. Excellent. In that case, all those in favour of the two recommendations? Thank you. That's been carried. Right. Moving on. Items 9, informal meetings of councillors. Item 10, reports by delegates. 11, general business. 12, motions for which notice has previously been given. 13, reception and reading of petitions are all not happening tonight simply because we are in caretaker mode. Documents for sealing, we've already actually done the one document that needs to be sealed, and that is item 8. So there being no further business, I'm going to declare this special council meeting closed at 5:18. And we can stop the recording and live streaming now, but would everybody like to stay on the meeting, please?